At this concert, we get to introduce our audiences to a brand new guest conductor. His name is Vinay Parameshwaran, and he comes to us from Cleveland, where he's the associate conductor of the Cleveland Orchestra. He came to Vermont in 2013 to work on a recording project at the time with the VSO, and that was his first professional conducting gig ever. And now, all these years later, he's coming back in this very different capacity where he has an entire Masterworks concert that he has completely programmed. One of the most special and brilliant programs that I've encountered, which starts with a piece by the Italian composer Rossini. Rossini is most famous for writing operas, specifically comic operas, not like polite chuckle comedy, but like laugh out loud comedy. There's this unique combination of kind of manic, sustained energy counterbalanced with this melodic elegance and beauty. As Vinay described it, it's just 6 minutes of pure joy. Rossini was heavily inspired by Haydn, who had recently died. So in the very beginning of this overture, you hear the strings very quietly plucking. It's called pizzicato, very, very quietly. And it's interrupted by these symphonic blasts with the whole orchestra. There's a Haydn symphony called the Surprise Symphony because it uses the same technique of like really, really quiet, delicate strings and then these like blasts that like shake and scare the audience. And so you'll hear in the beginning of the Rossini Overture, he uses this same technique masterfully, and it is hilarious and joyful and bubbly and wonderful and a perfect way to start the program. Then things change on this program dramatically. We go to the complete other end of the spectrum with a piece by VIJAY Iyer called Trouble. One of the things that Iyer does in this piece is reconceptualize what a violin concerto is. Sure, there's a soloist who stands at the front of the stage. In this case, it's the brilliant Jennifer Coe, but her role is much more collaborative with the orchestra, and actually there are times when the soloist very much takes a back seat and lets the orchestra kind of take over. The content of this concerto is difficult. He wrote this last year in 2017, and it very much was inspired by the intensely vitriolic and divided political climate in which that is the reality of America. So it is not a pretty piece. It is not easy listening. It's not funny. It is the polar opposite of the Rossini in every sense of the word. We come back from intermission with Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. It's called the Pastoral Symphony because each movement has a title that describes these lovely pastoral country scenes. Beethoven drew a tremendous amount of inspiration from nature and was famous for going on these long walks where he would compose music in his head and bring that into his work. And nowhere is that better represented than in this Sixth Symphony. The 4 movements after the first movement depict specific scenes as indicated by the movement titles. But in the first movement, it more depicts a feeling. I thought of, Camel's Hump, right? Right before you get to the summit, that lasts like 300-400 yards. You're on that tight little trail and the summit's coming, and then you get up there above the tree line and you just weep. It's an indescribable feeling. And Beethoven nails it in this first movement. I asked Vinay about this program and how he came up with this particular collection of pieces. And as he was describing it, I was reminded, weirdly, of Frank Gehry. I was with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, working and performing at Walt Disney Concert Hall, which is designed by Frank Gehry. And one of the things that always stuck with me that Frank Gehry said about architecture is that when he designs a building, he's not doing it in isolation. He's doing it in response to the buildings that are around it, to the work that's around it. And that's precisely what Vinay did with this program. To be able to take a masterpiece like Beethoven's Sixth and breathe new life into it just by programming a different piece adjacent to it represents, I think, an uncommon brilliance. And again, I'm back to my stupid man crush. I can't wait to meet this guy. I can't wait to introduce him to all of you. And it's going to be a concert that will stay with you. Tickets are available at vso.org/events, and the concert is Saturday, October 27th at the Flynn Theater at 7:30 p.m.